Snafu is a podcast that contains adult themes and language. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, welcome to Snafu, where the situation's normal, all fucked up. This is the podcast where we bring you stories of true crime and true mystery from past and present that you may have forgotten. So, we decided we'd remind you. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Corey, and thanks for joining us, guys. I know it's been a few weeks where I haven't been around. I've been traveling for work and for a few other things. Back up into DC, and then now back to Florida, finally.
Yep. So we've kind of went a little AWOL, which mostly nobody seemed to have noticed. A few of you kind of reached out and was like, hey, we're in the middle of a story. What are you doing? And the thing is I got pretty bogged down in all the facts and all the stuff that's coming out. And if you guys know anything about me, I can't help but give you every single little fact. Because if I leave something out, then I feel like I failed you guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so when I leave her alone to her own devices, I'm going to get a 20-page report to review before we record.
Corey, please read this and know it entirely.
Yeah, and she gives me 2 hours, so...
So yeah, I'm so sorry about the small break we had to take, between him traveling, me slogging through facts, and really trying to get a hold of an understanding of this so that we could talk about it to you guys, I'd love to hear what you guys eventually think about what we go over and how you feel if this is a cult, how is it a cult, how can people fall into this. That being said, I have to already put out there that we screwed up. I screwed up. And in the previous episodes, we had said that Keith's last name was Keith Rainier. And really, it's supposed to be pronounced Rainieri.
Yeah, sometimes it's a whole lot easier to go through a whole lot of data when it's written down and you're not having to slog through videos or anyone that's got recording. So it's one of those words that we read and didn't hear, and that's why it's been mispronounced by both of us.
Yeah, so we're fixing that now. But as you guys also know, we never really start by using anybody's last name. We want you to feel like you know these people, and we want to hold people accountable, and we also want to make other people, especially victims, seem like real people. So now that we fixed that, yeah, we can finally get back into our story. And the thing that we've done for this is we've split it up into groups. So, we've already done Keith Raniere, and we've done his, original pyramid scheme that he had to close. The government forced him to close it down. We talked about Nxivm, his self-help program, and how he does all that. So if you haven't listened to those yet, this episode is not going to make any sense. Please go back and check that out.
Yeah, you're going to grab us at the top of episode 17 in order to catch all of the facts that we're going to kind of gloss over as a little bit of a recap.
Yeah, we're getting tired of saying neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah.
So I think we say
really
it one
are.
more time and we just move on with our lives. And today's going to get really, really crazy. And it's like if you thought that, so far it's not that culty, it sounds more like a pyramid scheme. What we tell you today is going to be deeply disturbing. And therefore, although we put a warning out at the beginning of every episode, and the fact that our shows literally have the word fuck in it, you think a lot of people would be warned. But for this particular episode, we are going to be talking about sex trafficking, sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse. And if those are things, understandably, that you're uncomfortable with and you don't want to listen to this, go listen to one of our other episodes.
Yeah, our podcast is kind of dark most of the time, but we have a few episodes that aren't completely terrible. And this one just might go off the rails a little bit for certain people, so...
Yeah, and again, understandable. So, all right, we're not big on the whole chattery in the beginning, so now that we got business out of the way, let's dive into it, shall we?
Let's go.
What really baffles me about all of this is that we've been telling you about Keith Raniere existing in the public eye since the 90s. And the fact is that there have been a lot of articles about this man, especially from 2010 and on, about everything he's been doing. And it's not just like biased small newspapers or someone trying to fake a story. I mean, we're talking about the New York Times, Vanity Fair, Forbes magazine, Rolling Stone. And that's what's crazy to me, is that these stories have been around for a really long time.
Yeah, for me, I didn't hear about it until Allison Mack kind of got dragged in because I watched Smallville when I was a kid.
Yeah, and she is a big part of what we talk about today. And I don't know if we mentioned her yet before, but
We might have in passing.
I don't know. And so the thing is like, that's where I get almost all my information, just like Corey was saying. We get it from articles. I have an FBI report. And so everything that's been going on has been going on for a long time. And we even got a comment from another listener on YouTube. And she was just saying, she's known about this for 6 years and it's caught her interest. And especially now that it's coming out in the news again, she found it fascinating. What is it that causes intelligent, wealthy people to join a cult, of all things?
We're going to break that one down a little bit closer towards the end of the episode, especially once we dive into some of the deeper aspects of smaller groups within Nxivm.
So again, as far as our timeline goes, we start with Keith. We start with his pyramid scheme, Consumer's Byline, how it got forced to be closed down. In the last episode, we talked about Nxivm. That's really a self-help program where people, come together and follow Keith's guidance into ways to make themselves better or fix things.
I'll follow the hipster Jesus.
Yeah, and, and to the New York Times article, over 17,000 people are actually members or have used Nxivm and their self-help courses since 2003. The programs were designed to help those participants get over psychological barriers, really fully grow into a person they want to be in order to gain success. The original name was ESP, Executive Success Programs. So we even gave you a list last time of some really big names that have been part of this, and they're, top of real programs like BET. I mean, Seagram 7's founder, he came in and did a couple sessions and said it was life-changing. It would be great if everyone could go through that. And, when you're reaching out to wealthy people who only want to gain more success, that to me doesn't sound like a cult. That sounds, like...
It sounds like a good service to be part of.
Yeah, or just a white collar, hey, here's how you do better in business. It doesn't even seem very logical to me about changing you as a person until you read into the other things that Keith says he can do for you. So Keith's main theory in producing results and helping you get over these psychological barriers is him using his, what he calls technology. He's never very clever. His technology is just his personal theory, practice, and use of neuro-linguistic programming, like we said, where he implements different, what he calls data, to exchange data in your brain. So when you say something is one thing, especially if you're very negative about it, he will go in and say, well, you're being very negative about this because this happened. So now change that in your mind and think about it this way. And,
He just tries to reprogram people like their computers, and it frankly terrifies me.
And it's true. He's a computer programmer. I think that's exactly where he got all this idea from. But again, we went way into this last time, so we're caught up now, right? So Keith claims he's, able to help you. He wants to help you help yourself, give you the keys to be successful. But he can also use his technology to help you get over things like tic disorders or bad habits like smoking.
Yeah, we'll stop Tourette's and smoking with our patented new way of thinking.
What's weird to me is he also claims he can, fix nearsightedness, and yet the man still wears glasses.
Yeah, he's got to get the whole hipster look going for him.
In a New York Times article, one ex-member described Nxivm as a white-collar spiritual path. You're on the monk's path, but you're not wearing a red robe with a shaved head. So yeah, it's middle class, people got money and they want to be richer. So for many people, this is like a one-off random self-help course. I'll go to this session, maybe another session, that's it. So you can't really call those people die-hard Nxivm members. That's why I say there's 17,000 users, but I wouldn't say they're actually members.
They don't have a whole name of Nxivmites that you ever saw, do they?
No.
Okay, I'm going to call them Nxivmites.
But see, these programs in themselves, they're really intense. They're really, they cost a lot of money. Yeah. Some of them can range in thousands of dollars. And when you go there, some of these sessions can last, for 12 to 13 hours a day. Some of these sessions can be 5 days. Some of them are 16 days. So when you're spending that much money and somebody's putting you in something that in depth, you kind of want to participate.
Yeah.
I already put all my money into this. I'm not going to waste what I paid for. And, if they get something good out of it and leave, then that's fine. But if you're already willing to go this deep into a program and then keep going, you're definitely deep into Nxivm.
Oh yeah, then it's hard to turn back and get out of it.
And for those people who really entrench themselves into Nxivm and the lifestyle, they're completely different. Like I said, okay, so you've already done a 5-day program for 12, 13 hours a day for 5 days. Well, if you're a Nxivm member, you really just want to always be surrounded by other Nxivm members. You want to constantly be doing sessions and working on your Nxivm life. So their headquarters is based in Albany, New York, where he's always been hanging out. And he's even got himself set up in the Clifton Park neighborhood, where he and a lot of other Nxivm members have actually purchased high-end property, and they all live around each other and they spend time with each other. And in fact, the locals like to nickname it the compound.
And I bet if Keith had his way, he'd put up a damn wall and some watchtowers to make sure the other people don't come in.
I mean, seriously, he wants you to pay to play. So,
yeah.
And the thing is as this program grew, it had to start somewhere, and it was small, but it really has been growing. As the program grows, so does the levels of participation. There's ranking, there's special clothing, the secret handshakes we talked about. There's a lot of pressure to keep coming, keep bettering yourself, keep taking these sessions because, one's not enough. And don't you want to be better? Don't you, it's very in your brain and blameworthy. Oh, if you don't do this, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Like I said, as it gets bigger, people aren't even just customers anymore. You're not just participating in a session. You become a student, and you're a student of Keith's and Nancy Salzman, who we mentioned last time. And they're no longer those names. Keith is Vanguard.
Which is that video game he used to love to play when he was dating a 14-year-old.
Nancy Salzman is the prefect.
And that's one of the things that kind of drives me wild about this is that, I understand certain groups will have titles and names and everything like that, but the way they just do it, the names don't have any kind of scheme. A Vanguard to a prefect have two completely different definitions.
No, and especially when it comes to Nxivm, where they like to take a word and then they like to give it a totally, completely different meaning. That's a big part of Nxivm. So, they claim, this is what it means, regardless if that's true or not.
And that's something we're going to talk about today, but, the more sessions you attend with Nxivm, you also start getting ranks, and you level up, and you get colored scarves. The closer you are to living a more ethical life, depending on your color scarf, because like we said, Keith thinks that only a certain people can live a truly ethical life, and they should control all the money and resources on the planet.
Yeah.
It also means as you get more, I'm going to use quotes here, ethical, the closer you get to Keith. Often the higher rank you become and the more people you convince to join Nxivm, the more benefits you'll be offered. This includes, financial compensation or free sessions.
Yeah, it's just like what he did before with Consumers Byline. You can get a kickback. And membership, like we said, is a huge part of this. You're bettering yourself, but a bigger part of that is maybe you should be bringing people in.
Yeah, and somehow members seem to always want to be, closer to Keith. And they see him gallivanting around with a bunch of women on his arm, or him on being carried by women. I don't know. I'm picturing him being carried by women.
He's not. But...
And, as some sort of quasi-hipster Jesus who's going to use his genius and his patents to change the damn world.
And the thing is the moment you take a session, one of the first things that happens is they just talk about how great Keith is.
And don't you, pray to a picture of him?
I think you thank him or bow to it or something. And, it's grown so much that he's almost, I wouldn't say a god figure, but people want to be next to him. It's like being near the Dalai Lama. You have to climb the ranks to get there. Nobody just gets to walk up to the Dalai Lama. You know what I mean? So Keith's kind of set it up this way, that in order to get close to him and feel all this greatness that you've been paying all this money for, wouldn't you want to go straight to the source?
Yeah.
You have to climb these ranks and pass through certain people who will finally let you see him. It's really... Yeah, it's all centered around him.
Yeah, and they all see him as an activist, a philosopher, and a humanitarian on top of that. So they don't see the outside because, frankly, they're paying a lot of money and they're getting shown a certain direction. and no one questions it. And that to me is the most confusing thing about all of this, because I question every damn thing I look at.
And with Keith being such a figurehead in Nxivm, and like we said, the whole point of Nxivm is that it's his teachings. You do not divert from his teachings. Another part of his teachings happen to be centered around gender, on men and women, and how he feels that gender really affects who we are and how we behave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're like, no. Well, let me tell you.
Well, no. Of course I'm like, no.
He uses his view on gender, again, to define, like, why you behave the way you do. So gender and sex and relationships are a large part of the Nxivm teachings. And according to Keith, men are repressed and do not enjoy the same rich experience that a woman does.
Yeah, it's kind of bogus. I've met way too many women, and I know for a fact that you guys are getting the short end of the stick every situation.
No, you're repressed. Didn't you just hear me?
No.
However, according to Keith, men understand right and wrong. That means that Keith likes to say that women do not. According to him, women are weak. We're predispositioned to lie, cheat, back out of things. Again, we are...
I cancel plans all the damn time, and I've got man parts, Keith. It's the best feeling in the world.
You know, women are disloyal, and we have tantrums, and basically, we get away with whatever we prefer, as long as we throw a hissy. And to me, this sounds incredibly incel-like.
Yeah, so for those of you guys who don't know, we're going to pull back the curtain on probably the darkest corner of human existence and the internet. Go to Reddit and look up incel tiers. Incels are what is called involuntarily celibate. And it's guys, most of the time, that for whatever reason they're not able to score.
They're not able to have women be in relationships with them or just use them for sex, and they seem to become very bitter. It seems to be a growing movement, mostly of men who are just very angry and hateful towards women.
Yeah, and
or people who support women in any way.
And everything is not the person's fault. It's because they're not tall enough, or...
Yeah, they're very angry at men who look good. They're angry at women who look good. They think that women are promiscuous and they sleep around and that makes them sluts, but that men deserve to be able to sleep around, which doesn't really make any sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, they don't want women to sleep around. They want the quintessential virgin, but they want to have 1,200 of those quintessential virgins.
So I want to talk about, why would Keith teach this? Why would Keith want... I mean, because he spends all his time with women. He doesn't really spend much time with men. But, I mean, basically, he's really defining character flaws and blaming it on something that everybody has. And because this is what Keith teaches in his programs, and like I said, you're not supposed to divert from his teachings. All his followers, they just parrot. Whatever they say is really parroting Keith. So, for instance, in one article, Nancy Salzman says, the teachings mandate that women have an over-emotional nature, that they fail to keep promises, and they embrace the role of victims. In another article, I found another quote from Nancy, where she's saying, quote, women are allowed to be dependent on men. A great part of being a woman is no matter how you screw up your life, you can always move back in with your dad. Every time you have to choose to stay dependent, you have made a decision not to be independent.
That's just some weird, unspeak, or duck speak.
No, that's just some pampered ass bullshit where you think because you're a girl and life doesn't go great, you can always run home to daddy. Guess what? Not everybody grows up in a family where you can just run home to mommy and daddy when everything gets bad. That's a very pampered lifestyle way of thinking, that you always can fall back on somebody else. And to blame all women for that, that's ridiculous. No, maybe you've just been too pampered and you always had somebody to fall back on. I just find that ridiculous. And then the fact that they say this is a grown-ass woman with a nursing degree.
Yeah, Nancy... all of the women in this thing, everyone in Nxivm, because I'm seeing it from a completely different angle, it just baffles me how they think.
Or how they can agree with it.
Yeah, and it's just really, really bizarre. Another part of this program, of all the Nxivm teachings, includes Keith's theory on the primitive hypothesis. And that explains that men are naturally promiscuous and women are naturally monogamous. So, Nxivm stresses that men should have multiple relationships with women, but the women of Nxivm should only be with one man, which, again, is this whole cycle of the darkest parts of society. And, in fact, since the beginning of ESP, Keith quietly kept a rotating gang of about 20 to 30 women, and, he's always had sexual relationships with them. So when we say he's wandering around the compound in Clifton Park, well, not right now if you follow the news, but, he's got these women all around him. He's, having sex with all of them, and it's just what he's trying to get out of this. And it's almost like he's making Nxivm be something that just kind of
his
profits
private
him.
harem. But
yeah.
The thing is what's crazy is for some reason he doesn't actually put that persona out there. Like when he's seen in public, yeah, he's surrounded by women, but I don't think they see him physically do anything with them or act like they're actually his girlfriends. This all kind of happens in private because there's plenty of Nxivm members who actually think he's celibate.
Yeah,
like
that's
a
true.
monk, and he's truly not. And the fact is he's been doing this the entire time, because if you roll back to when we talked about that 12-year-old dog walker his old ex-girlfriend hired, when she used to come over to the house in the 90s, it was just filled with women.
And sex. So she thought that's what adults do.
Yeah, crazy.
And it's mind-boggling.
So it's this is not anything new for Keith whatsoever. But yeah, he's living what he believes.
Yeah. In 2006, Keith created the program called JNESS, JNESS, to add to Nxivm's curriculum. According to a member, JNESS is, and this is a quote, a made-up word that we are defining as we define who we are.
Oh my god, why even define it?
Like we've been saying, Nxivm is not known for its
cleverness.
This
is a word that is a thing that's not a thing.
Yeah,
you should have just called it to be named.
I took my title from a video game. You took your title from a rank at a boarding house, and now we're making up words for classes.
So what is JNESS?
So JNESS is an 8-day program that costs about $5,000. And there are 11 different levels of JNESS. It is aimed at showing the student that men and women are wired differently and that genders cannot experience life the same way.
Much like we've said.
Yep, this program aims to help them understand, this whole concept and themselves, how it affects them as a person. A beginning course for JNESS, which is titled Raw!
Raw!
And if I had, the superpower to make...
WWE Raw!
Yeah, if I could make sound effects, we'd have John Cena diving in right now.
Woo! Oh god, that's just okay.
Monster Jam. Anyway, at Raw, men and women are encouraged to talk about their life experience as it pertains to their gender. They're supposed to talk about sex and how sex made them feel, especially about times that sex made them feel used or ashamed. So basically, it's Sunday School 101. If you're a Catholic, you kind of already been through this.
Please tell me at Catholic Sunday School they don't talk about sex. I thought they said don't do it and that was it.
They shame you for it.
Oh, okay.
It's just kind of how Catholics are.
But basically what he's trying to do with this is he's making sex dirty. I mean, you're talking about it and you're already saying how, your gender makes you weak or it makes you react this certain way that's negative. And now not only that, but he wants you to pin down your most negative sexual experience and embarrass yourself by talking about it in front of other people. This is a thing, when you do that to your brain, you go into a very negative space.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't feel like it's actually meant to help you whatsoever.
No, but at Nxivm, they're thinking it's going to help men and women develop compassion for each other.
So, however, Keith doesn't just stop at leading JNESS. So when it came to his ideas about the male and female gender, he decided that he needed to create a club for men and a club for women.
Secret society for women.
Secret societies. So the club for men is called the Society of Protectors.
You get a shield.
Yeah, you don't. That was a bad joke.
I want a shield.
So male students formed groups, and together they're just like a pack of men who are a bunch of friends, and they're each other's support system. And it's intertwined with the idea of collateral, which we mentioned before in Nxivm, where, you owe collateral. So if you're going to say you're going to do something, you have to put up collateral so that you will do it. Otherwise, you lose that collateral. And this kind of goes hand in hand with this club. So this kind of collateral really affects more of all the men in the group than it just yourself. And so, like, the example that the New York Times gave was very simple. But basically, let's say you're in this group of, I don't know, 6 guys.
Okay.
And you're all buddies. Larry over there needed to put up a fence. We're all going to come out and help you out.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We beer and stuff.
The thing is like, I want to get in shape. And I know in order to get in shape, I need to go running. And so I'm going to tell all my friends, I'm making this promise right now. I'm going to go running tomorrow. And then therefore, when you make a promise like that, you have to put up collateral. So my collateral might be, if I don't go running, none of my friends can have their morning coffee the next day. And so it's your collateral is now based on the group, not just you. And there's no way that you're going to be willing to punish all your friends from something they like because you didn't want to do something that was already basically selfish and just for yourself.
Yeah, and, it's just one of those...
I mean, it makes sense, though. And to me, it's very militaristic. Like, we did that in the military. If one person really screwed up, they didn't even really get that punished. We all got punished.
Yeah.
And that's a way that, hey, I care about my buddy or my friend or this guy's got my back. There's nothing, I don't care how you punish me. I'll take what punishment's coming to me. But, there's an extra level of guilt when you start punishing other people. So it keeps you in line, right?
Yeah. But on the other side of the coin was a group for women, which was often called the Vow. So much different than Society of Protectors. I can still think you can give women a cool name better than the Vow.
That sounds kind of like the church for nuns.
Yeah, or Society of Protectors. You could just call it the Squad, and it'd be fine.
Squad.
I'm a group of trolls and bachelors called the Squad. SNL. Anyway, the Vow, it might be up to 150 women who participated in this group out of the 17,000 or so people that attended Nxivm. Yeah, they attended any of the Nxivm classes. It's very similar to the men's club. The Vow was set up as a group of women to have, female support, and it was supposed to use women or the female influence to teach them how to be, quote, badass warrior bitches, unquote, and not victims. As Nancy Sullivan was saying, women try to play the victim role. This is trying to break that. And this all works very well in Keith's cult. Not only do you have an enigmatic leader guiding you to bliss, but now you're surrounding yourself with more like-minded people who also pressure you to become even more wrapped up into the program, not only for your own good, but for the good of your friends. These people whom you care for and who care for you, supposedly.
Yeah, so just like the guys where you don't want to punish your guy friends, the women, they're there for each other too, and there's no way you want to have your girlfriend get punished for your choices, right?
Yeah,
Simple.
It's like joining a fraternity or sorority back in college. And, just like Nxivm's self-help programs, the Vow resonated with a lot of women who were part of it, particularly the actress Allison Mack. And if that name sounds familiar, no, it's not Alex Mack, and this is a discussion Shannon and I have all the time. Because
I kept going, the girl that turns into goo, and he's like, no.
That's a show.
That's a
She's not real.
Show.
Allison,
no, Alex Mack is totally real.
Alex Mack is different than Allison Mack. Alex Mack turns into a puddle, and I think she had lightning powers.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
That was a cool show.
Yeah, and it was the coolest thing in the world. And Allison Mack cannot shoot lightning from her hands, no matter how many self-help classes she takes.
No, she's just the lame blonde girl from the show Smallville, who was like the girl next door that pandered over Clark Kent.
Yeah, and she's really good with computers. And Allison was first actually introduced to Nxivm by another Smallville actress, Kristen, I'm going to say Keurig, but I know that makes coffee.
No,
Kruick, maybe?
It's Lana. It's the really pretty girl from Smallville.
It's Lana, the dark-haired girl in Smallville.
Yeah.
But, she brought Allison in 2006 when she took a 2-day JNS introductory class back up in Vancouver. And for those of you who follow any of those CW shows or any shows on sci-fi, they love shooting in Vancouver. I don't know why.
They also love to shoot in Wilmington. So the Dawson's Creek was shot
I'm sure One Tree Hill is probably shot in Wilmington too.
Mm-hmm. And when I went to college in Wilmington, everybody used to want to go be extras and make a little cash and then watch the show and see themselves wandering in the background.
I mean, I can't blame them. I would probably try to do that too.
But, with Allison Mack joining, we're talking about her, and I feel like you guys can get a picture of her in your head. If you ever saw that show, a glimpse of that show, you know who we're already talking about. And at the time with the show on air, she's a bigger deal. And so as she ends the program, she actually gets an invite to go back to Albany on one of the Bronfman sisters' jets, which we've talked about them last time, the heiresses to the Nxivm fortune.
Yeah, the Nxivm liquor fortune.
And so basically Allison Mack gets invited to go back to the Nxivm headquarters to kind of meet Keith. And she goes. And the thing is her friends say at this very time in Allison's life, the reason she goes to JNS in the first place, the reason that she takes this invite to go to Albany, is that Allison seemed very desperate for something big to happen to her. And she was really searching for a sign to show her her purpose in life.
Yeah.
So nothing like having someone put their hand down and go, hey, come get on this jet, to make you feel like maybe you're getting that sign.
Maybe that's the sign.
She goes out there and she doesn't ever really seem to leave. People say, weeks later after that first invitation, you get out there and there's Allison Mack. And for the first couple of weeks, she doesn't even really she doesn't meet Keith. She doesn't see him. She actually spends time with another Nxivm member, Barbara Boucher. And that's according to E! News. And Barb here is another one of Keith's girlfriends. She is also, a senior executive. So she's a powerful woman.
Yeah.
And the thing with Allison is that resonates with her. She is almost star-stunned by this woman and her success in being an executive and powerful. And she's kind of fangirling over her. And then when she finally does get to meet Keith, supposedly she asks Keith if he can save her acting career and make her a great actor. She really, by the time she gets to Keith, she really thinks that he's like a genie, Yeah. He can make this happen. All this kind of makes sense to me because right at this time, Allison is very big online. She tweets, she had an online blog, and so her own blog back from 2007, she downs her own intelligence because she only got through high school and then she got into acting and ended up really getting successful. So instead of turning around and going to college, she did this. And so she feels stupid and she blames that lack of classic education on her weakness. So it's easy for her to admire anyone who acts like they're intelligent and has, extra education because she already puts that down in herself.
Yeah. And, having actors like Allison Mack or Kristen Curick or Sarah Edmondson or having, famous people, the heiresses to the Nxivm's fortune, like the Bronfman sisters, or India Oxenberg, they were all very appealing people and they're very high up in Nxivm. And it started to get the same star pull that Scientology did with the likes of Tom Cruise and John Travolta. So, you get the big, important, famous people that even the lay people look up to. You're going to start
they're
grabbing
rich,
more.
They're wealthy. If they're getting something out of this, I want to know about it because it seems to be working, you know, and it's just being brought in, that's why they invited these people. Totally makes sense. But,
and Barb Boucher leaves Nxivm in 2009, and it's reportedly that Kristen had left, a few years later, probably about 2011, 2012, after a damning article that we've actually spoken about. That came out earlier that year, talking about Keith and his underage lovers and his past pyramid schemes and how he's just not this super Buddha.
Yeah, so some people were paying attention when those articles came out and they ran.
Yeah, and other people, they kind of doubled down, like Allison Mack, who doubled down and just kind of further dug in like a little tick into Nxivm. And she started reaching out to other actresses via email and Twitter, inviting them to try the empowering self-help programs of Nxivm. And, certain people, she reached out to Emma Watson, who is, British and intelligent.
She's Hermione.
Yeah, and she attended Brown University. She's a smart girl. She never responded to Allison.
I mean, obviously.
But, Hermione probably doesn't fall for pyramid schemes.
But, yeah, so she's still reaching out to stars and actresses, but she's also reaching out to, laywomen, just intelligent authors and artists, and just a lot of women in general, and handing out this offer of, hey, don't you want to go to this amazing program? And yeah, people like Emma Watson are answering her, but I bet girls who watched her on TV in high school who are now trying to be authors, I bet they gave her the time of day.
Oh yeah, easily. And for the women who did talk, reach back, she started gushing about Nxivm and JNS and how awesome it was. And some of these women actually did come back out to the Nxivm compounds and join Allison, in these all-women group. And as Allison gained rank in Nxivm, she also grew closer to Keith. And eventually together, and with other top Nxivm executives like the Solomon or the Romphans, in 2015, they decided to make a new group, a secret society of select women.
Yeah. Super secret.
Super secret. Super secret, it's even a made-up word. So this sorority, as they're calling it, is called DOS, which loosely stands for Dominus Obscurus Sororium.
Dominus Obsequious Sororium.
Which stands loosely for Dominus Obsequious Sororium. And the group says that this stands for
a couple things.
A few different things that none of these would make me want to join the group. But lord over obedient female companion / slave, or another member has said it also means master over the slave women.
Which, first of all, we run right back into the problem where Keith has taken a word, and now he's put a new meaning to it, but he doesn't even use it correctly. He doesn't use the Latin phrase, it's not even correct in Latin. So, yeah, but trust me, they're not coming right out and saying, hey, master over the slave women, join the group. This is DOS. That's all.
Yeah, but I mean,
DOS. Come on.
Even Dominus Obsequious Sororium, to me that sounds dominating over sorority, and that doesn't sound good at all to me.
Okay, so let's tell you what they're told this is, and that'll make more sense.
Yep.
Right? So it's a game of master and slave. In reality, that's what it is. Keith is the only male in this group, but his being in the organization of this at all is kept secret to most people.
Super secret.
He's at the very tippy top of this pyramid, and he is the only master. Everyone else in this group will forever be a slave to somebody except for Keith. Keith is slave to nobody. And like I said, it's just not revealed until he wants it to be. His right-hand woman seems to be Allison Mack. And like we said, she is considered his obedient slave.
Yeah.
And if that already sounds absolutely ridiculous, like we said, why the hell would you join a group that calls itself, master over slave women, and you're an intelligent woman, and you're wealthy, or you're famous, what are you doing? Why would you willingly call yourself a slave? Well, obviously, these women, they're not initially told about that terminology. It is really downplayed. So let's just talk about who they're going to target. They're targeting mostly women who are already in Nxivm. Nxivm members, Nxivm students, people who are really deeply delved into this life, because some of the things that are asked for right away are things that they're used to. Like collateral is going to be mentioned a lot soon.
Or money.
So they're kind of already used to that. It's not something new to come to them. On top of that, they are women in their 30s and 40s, typically women who might be going through a midlife crisis or in search of something. But typically, they always pick women who seem unhappy or dissatisfied, either with their lives, their jobs, or even with their placement in Nxivm, and seem to really want to gain ranks. If they have any kind of urge to be better, they kind of zone in on those women. Because trust me, they're not zoning in on crazies.
Yeah, no.
They don't, that's not of their interest. They don't need some crazy bitch who's poor. Keith likes them wealthy and pretty and, star-studded. He likes them intelligent. But in order to get these intelligent women, you gotta trick them.
Yeah.
Gotta sneak them over. Put a little Mickey in there.
Oh, God damn it.
I'm sorry, I'm not Cardi B. I didn't mean that. So, like I said, it's a pyramid scheme. And Keith is at the very tippy top. You've got Allison Mack at his right hand, but she's right below him. She's considered a slave. And it's very, very big on recruitment. Pyramids don't work unless you got people below it.
Yeah.
So we really need people. So again, in Nxivm, a lot of the classes, they end up costing you ridiculous amounts of money. You are pressured to continue taking those classes, and in order to better yourself, you really need to keep going. And in order to do that, you have to pay this money. And most Nxivm members aren't that wealthy, and they actually go into debt just being a Nxivm member because of all the pressure to take all these really expensive classes.
Well, if a class is $5,000, it takes me 6 months to make $5,000, so...
And you're like, okay, I thought we were just talking about DOS. Why are we suddenly talking about what it costs for a Nxivm class? well, if you are gaining, if you're in Nxivm and you're going into debt, and then you have someone like Nancy Salzman or her daughter Lauren Salzman walk up to you who are making money like right and left from Nxivm, and people know that, and they come up to you and say, hey, I got a secret for you, but you're special. I want to tell you. You're going to listen. Mm-hmm. That would be like Bill Gates walking up and being like, hey, you ever read about stocks? You'd be like, oh, no, but tell me everything you ever wanted to say. Just open your mind. Like,
can I buy Microsoft right now?
It just makes sense why if you're, in this group and you're getting pressured and then one of these brilliant women walks up to you, say like Sarah Edmondson, who's the head of the Vancouver site, who's making $20,000 a month, and someone above her comes to her and she gets, it's easy to get recruited is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
These are why these really intelligent women fall for these schemes. So
how are we going to get these women to fall into this scheme? Because DOS just sounds like a terrible idea to me.
Well, all right, let's talk about, exactly how they pull you in. Like I said, one of these top echelons, one of the executive members of Nxivm, always a female, she's going to come up to you and she's going to say exactly what I just told you. I got a super secret group. It's special. Ooh, don't you want to be part of this?
I'm nodding, guys.
Yeah.
It sounds so awesome to me.
What they do then is they tell you, but look, I can't tell you about it unless I get some collateral. Which, if you're a Nxivm member, that already makes sense. Hey, you're telling me that this is so important and requires collateral. This must really be important. Okay, what do you mean by collateral?
Is it for my whole group or just me?
Basically, they tell you, well, if you give us the collateral, that will ensure that you're not going to tell anybody about this super special organization we're going to tell you about. And, once you learn about that, your life's going to be way better. So the collateral that they tend to ask for at this point is material that the person would never, ever want revealed. It's got to be physical. It's not, it's not about you not getting coffee. This time collateral is pictures and letters. They ask for nude photos, sexually explicit photos.
This sounds a lot like blackmail.
Yeah. Videos of you professing awful things that you've done in your life. Or, like I said, letters that reveal damning stories about you or your friends or your parents. This is the collateral they want. And they're telling you, it has to be real bad because this is really special. You really can't talk about it.
Yeah.
And that makes you think, okay, this is really bad, but they're used to giving collateral.
This, like I said, just feels like blackmail. I wouldn't want to be doing that.
But according to Sarah Edmondson, Lauren Salzman gave her this whole spiel, and all she had to hand over was a letter detailing some past indiscretions. So it doesn't really seem like that much to me at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Then once you give that over, the woman goes, okay, good, I have this. Now I'm going to tell you, it's a woman's only organization, and its goal is to eradicate the weakness in its members. You don't want to be weak, right? You want to be a badass bitch.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you do, Corey. And remember, the whole time you're in Nxivm, women are being taught that they are victims, and they make themselves victims. So when a woman tells you there's an extra group that's going to not make you a victim and delete that weakness from yourself, these people are very interested in that. Supposedly DOS was a way to break that weakness, and they were going to do it by the use of submission and obedience. Yep. Keith would later claim he was giving, quote, women the tools to be powerful, to regain their power for the sake of building love. Which one moment we go from computer programmer to hippy dippy bullshit.
Yeah, but also the thing is Keith is the kind of guy, what bothers me the most about this, and I'm not trying to deflate any kind of feelings on love being a strong emotion or anything like that, but, Keith tries to put in a men's group and a women's group, but he is trying to make it so women are becoming strong, but just the way he phrased this, you're gonna find love, that's not something he would say to guys. I'm not saying that love is a weak emotion, and I'm definitely not saying that females are weaker than males. Shannon can, attest to this, but the fact is, that's definitely not how he would at all
He would
branded
never
towards
sell this
men.
to men, yeah.
He'd make it, you're gonna be strong. Like,
and to top it off, I don't think Keith believes in love. He's he's a computer programmer who thinks that, brainwashing is really just replacing data with data and you're a machine. What part of that is love to him? I don't think he gives a shit.
I don't think he understands it.
But that's, again, we like to get a little emotional and speculative, so there we are. So it's easy to see now, a little more easier, I guess, to see why women would be interested in falling into this. And now you can kind of see how one door is already locked behind you.
Yeah.
Before you even know what you've walked into. You have given something that you're scared already that other people will see. So, it's like walking... no, let's put it this way. You're on the roller coaster, you're already strapped in, and you're moving. There's no stopping this thing.
Yeah, there really isn't. You're now along for the ride.
So, it was suggested that the group you were going to be joining was a group that was made for the force of good. And not only was it going to make you better, your girlfriends better, but secretly they were hoping it was going to grow into a network that could influence huge events like elections. This is that's so creepy to me.
If you can throw your weight behind there, yeah, that's definitely... I don't like that one at all.
And to me, it's even creepier because Nxivm on its own had already built a website at the time to define media's news and tell you whether it was fake or not. So here's the people telling you what's fake or not news, and yet secretly they want to influence elections or who runs this city. Like, that's a lot of dirty bullshit to me.
Yeah, that's definitely...
It goes right in key with Nxivm and Keith thinking he knows who should be running the world.
Yeah, the ethical people should be running the world, and he knows who's ethical, but...
So, this is at the point when they finally express to you... I mean, they told you what the program is, they told you it's going to be awesome... And now they finally tell you, look, the relationships in it, however, are going to be of master and slave. And the person who brings you into the program will now be your master from now on. You are their slave. So when it came to Sarah Edmondson and her friend, Lauren Salzman, the woman who was her maid of honor at her wedding, brought her into this group. She then became that woman's slave. And if you're thinking, well, right there, I'd probably be pumping those brakes. I might want to not fucking do this. And a lot of women do. That doesn't sound real great. And they'll go, okay, maybe you misunderstood me. And then they'll downplay the terminology that they're trying to put forward. What they're going to do is say, okay, it really doesn't even matter about the titles. You're getting too into the titles. And the fact is, aren't we all slaves to something? They'll kind of downplay it, then they'll kind of blame you, and then they'll kind of twist it so you can kind of see I guess I am pretty much a slave to my, HBO account. I don't know.
Yeah, the Game of Thrones shit's pretty slave driver to me.
And like we said, so you come in and you're a slave, there's the master. Where does Keith come in all of this? Well, he's not going to be mentioned, but the way this works out is the person who brings you in is your master. You're their slave.
Yep.
But the person that brought them in is their master, and your master, who's a master, is still a slave. There's no getting out of the slave part. And then on top of that, it goes up the chain until everybody is just a slave under Keith. Right?
Yeah.
And it just sounds like, I don't know, pyramid slavery.
Slavery with extra steps?
Entrepreneurial slavery.
That's probably how he'd try to...
I think it's just called slavery.
The prisoners with jobs.
Yeah, you need to be out there making some extra dough. I can't, hold all this shit down. So, like we said, if you hesitated, they basically just told you, look, you're too into this. The final nudge you might need is that if you're questioning this and ready to back out, they'll say, look, there's your sign of weakness, just like we told you, which proves to you need this program more than ever. They've got several different ways to spin it, so you can't walk away, right?
Yep, and that's... anytime you get anything that involves slavery at all, it throws up red flags for me.
It is 2019, and we have it infiltrating all parts of our world, child slavery, sex slavery, and you just think in a first world country like America, in a place like upstate New York, with a schlubby little guy like Keith, that this isn't a thing.
Yeah.
You know, this would be like telling me that Dr. Phil had a sex cult. Who the fuck is sleeping with Dr. Phil?
Not me.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, when you look at the pictures, when you see the women, it's unbelievable. But, yeah, okay.
Once a woman, reaches the level of initiation into DOS, she's typically required to provide even more collateral.
Yeah, another door is locking.
According to the FBI report, some women were told that they needed to put up every aspect of their life for collateral. From their house to their car to any kind of assets they have. You had to disclaim your faith and document even more atrocities that, if released, could destroy a person's life or career, including your own or someone else around you. It was understood that if a DOS member left or slipped secrets out beyond the members, or if they just didn't fulfill their assignments, then their collateral could be released.
And that's a very big, important thing that Nxivm loves to point out. We've never said we were going to do it. We said we could do it.
Yeah.
It was the threat of the thing. But that'll come up a lot more later.
Yeah, and they keep providing more collateral because some people are just on like a monthly collateral fee.
I mean, you'd have to. You just told this person that there is slavery. This is slavery. I mean, at this point, I would be, they should be terrified that these secrets are going to come out. So that's why they're literally making you give over everything.
Yeah, and, there are certain bits of collateral here that are going to shock you. Like, Shannon, what did Alice and Mac put up for collateral?
Okay. So, like we said, a lot of women had to give up everything. You need to collateralize all aspects of your life. And you're like, okay, house, car, what else could possibly be there? But this makes it very clear. Let's talk about Allison Mack. Allison Mack, she gave up her house in Brooklyn if she were... And that's the thing, is like, it's collateral. So technically, you're just saying you have to give it up. You literally are signing it over, but they're claiming they're not going to do anything with or to it as long as you keep your promise. That's pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
So she signs over her house in Brooklyn to Keith. She actually signs away any future children she may birth to Keith.
That's not a safe thing.
To top it off, she wrote a letter about her mom and dad that would, if it were to come out, would like personally damn them, ruin them. And she also wrote a letter to Child Services indicating some kind of abuse to her two nephews. And again, whether it's a lie or not, because here's the thing, I'm giving you collateral. Okay, here's a naked picture. Here's, my house. Here's everything. Well, we need more. Well, what more? I mean, I haven't done... you need to write a letter. All the damning things you've ever done. Most people have never done that many damning things. A lot of people have never been to jail. Most people have, a speeding ticket on their record.
I got a parking ticket once.
Oh, aren't you special?
I was.
So,
badass.
What they say is like, oh, that's fine. Just make it up. Make up something. Just write it down or say it on this video. Just say it. As long as people can read it or see it or hear it and it sounds believable, it's enough to screw your life over. And that's all they care about.
Yeah.
So they've got you. And where does all of this go? Because we already told you, it all has to be physical. Videos, pictures, letters, written signed documents. These geniuses were keeping it in Dropbox accounts. And Google Documents was used as a list for timetables to recruit new slaves.
That's where I keep all my secure things. Google.
Nothing like running your current cult, but, being forward-thinking as if it's a business.
Put it on the cloud. That's where everything is safe.
Send me an email. I need to know about your new slave. Like, the hell are y'all thinking? There's WhatsApp, pictures.
Yeah.
Like, you fucking idiots. Someone out there in, I don't know, working at Google saw this. There's no way people didn't see this somehow. Somebody's controlling those systems.
Yeah.
They can dig into everything. How are they not literally looking at your slave record? And why did you keep a slave record online?
Yeah, don't keep a slave record, everybody.
You know what? Put it on a piece of paper. When they catch you, fucking burn that shit. The end. What is wrong with you? Stop being so tech savvy. It's not helping you guys.
So, for all you future cult leaders out there, don't keep your slave records on the cloud.
You're welcome. Now, please send me one of your ropes. Anyways,
I think that gets us to level 2.
All right, so now we talked about who they're initiating, we talked about how you get in the program, and now why you're stuck in the program. What's going on in the program? Let's talk about that. What is really expected of you when you get in here? Well, within DOS, the slaves are required to do what is called acts of care. They're also required to do things they call pay tribute to their masters. So you need to be going out and basically doing typical assistance works without really being probably told to do it. I mean, that's an act of care. You should be here first thing in the morning giving me my coffee. Don't you care about me kind of thing.
I'm not getting up to get you your coffee.
No kidding. I know. But that's the thing. These people are supposed to get up and get their master's coffee, maybe go pick up their dry cleaning, clean their house, make them, their lunch, fill the car with gas. Just, you're basically the house bitch, because you're their slave. I cannot express anymore that this is truly slavery.
It's white-collar slavery, though, because it does go, a little bit beyond that. And it's not only tasks for a master's own benefit, and other tasks such as editing and reviewing material about the ESP programs, or taking these dense articles that Keith is writing, so I can tell you they're going to be
all
great.
His fantastic theories, or, like we said, he likes to put out a whole ton of
patents.
Patents,
on
yeah. So
everything.
These poor women are sitting there trying to edit through his very misspelled bullshit.
Yeah. So you're not just a house bitch, you're also the office bitch.
And they, to amount up to the amount of work that these women are doing, because they still have jobs, or they're still running like Nxivm programs, like they're still doing like regular stuff and people are seeing them. So the way that they kind of figured out how much a slave should really be working is they kind of added it up to, let's see, it's the work of your slave plus the work of their slaves should add up to the work hours of one full-time employee just taking care of you.
40 hours a week of pampering.
I don't think those hours really add up, though, because these women are told to be incredibly vigilant. And what we mean by that is that there were things that they had to do on minutes' notice. And we'll say it like this. So every morning, you're supposed to wake up and you text your master. And all you're supposed to text them is morning M.
M for master.
Every
or
night,
Nancy.
You go to bed and you text your master night M. Then your master, at any random time, could pull what they called a readiness drill. And that's when all they would do was text out a question mark. And as their slave, you had 60 seconds to respond. And your response was just supposed to read, ready, M.
I don't like this at all.
You are ready for your mission, your task. It's grown-ass adults playing spy.
Yeah, basically.
And so, on top of, readiness drills and just doing things for themselves, like clean my fucking house, masters also gave tasks centered around self-denial and discomfort. Again, remember the whole point of this program was to beat out the weakness in you? Mm-hmm. So, for your own good, they were doing things that were just supposed to be hard for the sake of them being hard, and then you would feel, once you succeeded in it, that you were tougher. These things included taking ice-cold showers up to several minutes for no reason.
Nope.
Or, hey, get your ass up at 4 a.m. and just stand in a plank position for an hour.
No.
This honestly resulted in a lot of women, a lot of these slaves, admitting that they had sleep deprivation, which is a typical cult behavior.
Yeah, or college.
I don't want you to be able to think. If you can't think because you're so tired, you'll just do what we tell you. You're easier to mold. Again, the military does this. When you're in boot camp, you're going so much that I remember for the first time in my life, I'm sitting in a chair and I am falling asleep and doing everything in my power to just stay awake in the middle of the day. Like I'm a fucking 2-year-old who's just had a belly full of food. Like I am. Yeah, my head is falling. And it's like, that's crazy. But when you're that limited in your thinking capability, you're just a sponge for limited information to come in. And that's all they really want.
Yep. And if a slave failed to do a task or perform to a standard, that their master was looking for, they were punished. They were also warned by their master that their slave's failure makes them look bad. So, you're going to make me look bad to my master if you fail, slave. So it's not just your ass, it's mine.
But also remember that a lot of these women, they're friends. They're like girlfriends. Like they're not.
And they're catty bitches.
Yeah.
Well, what happens sometimes is that one master could affect their slave because of their slaves, activities and failures.
That's really confusing. Explain it to me.
Master 1 could paddle their slave, who's going to be called Master 2 for this, because Master 2's slaves failed. So if your grand slaves, there we go. If your grand slaves failed, you could paddle your slave because of your grand slaves.
Yeah, so basically what happened in reality is that one of the really high up, and we have this on the FBI record, one of the really high up slaves who is referred to as like a certain name, but we really know it's Allison Mack. And she's telling her slaves, look, I'm punishing you, but if you keep failing, it looks bad on me, and I'm going to get punished by my master, who they don't actually know who her master is, but it is Keith. And she did say he's either going to paddle me or he might put me in a cage.
And I'm all for paddling if it's consensual and for fun times.
For everybody, but
yeah, this is something beyond that.
This is just, it's torture.
Yeah. And if a slave failed to commit tasks too many times, they're threatened with their collateral getting released. So there's always that bit of blackmail on this group.
Yeah, but at least that wasn't the first line. You definitely get punished before they threaten to release all that collateral they've been collecting. The problem with the collateral is at this point, some of these slaves are being required to provide collateral once a month or more, like monthly. Yeah. Again, what else do you have to sign over? It's all really damning information that are lies. It's really sad how far these people are willing to go. So now we have you doing tasks, cleaning houses, doing things that are just hard for no reason. But secretly, what a lot of the higher up masters were really doing with these slaves was they were grooming them. And they were making them ready so that Keith would enjoy having sex with them, and they would be able to do what Keith liked, and they would look like Keith liked. So a big part of this would be masters constantly forcing their slaves to go on really restrictive diets. So the majority of these women that you see in the pictures, they're all like scary skinny. They're kind of like Skeletor. And it's mostly because a lot of them end up on diets of 900 calories or less a day, with their masters demanding that you write down like everything you eat. And this is told that you're just doing it to be accountable, to keep you from being weak and eating for no reason. But what it is Keith likes skinny girls.
And I don't normally, kinks shame, but if you have a thing for Skeletor, I'm going to kink shame you.
Right? What I want to make it even creepier is I want to remind people that when Keith was dating underage girls, 12 and 15-year-old girls, he told those girls that they need to go on a diet.
Yeah.
That they need to lose weight. He has the taste of a pedophile. He wants to fuck a girl, not a woman.
Yeah.
I want to put that out there because right now he's saying that's not true. These are fake. His lawyer says all this shit's fake. And maybe I let the cat out of the bag. We're dealing later on with lawyers, but this isn't fake.
If you guys have followed the news at all, you guys know what's going on. I take it that our listeners keep up on the true crime, so we're going to get into that in a few minutes.
The thing with these women is it wasn't just about making them skinny, it went to things like they forced them to be celibate. You are not even allowed to think of, you can't even masturbate.
Yeah.
That form of celibate. You could not have relationships, you couldn't masturbate. They were even forbidden from removing their pubic hair. I kind of wonder how they spun that one to make you feel stronger. But that was really just his predilection. Wild. And eventually, masters would order their slaves to spend time with Keith. And eventually, they would be ordered to have sex with him. Literally, the master would be like, you're going to go to the end of the driveway and you're going to meet Keith. You're going to spend time with him. You're going to do whatever he says. You're going to be happily present yourself and say, I am willing to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that's how, and these women did it. And that's how you just got sucked into suddenly being one of the 15 to 20 women who are having sex with Keith.
Yeah. Congratulations, guys.
Woo. And you know what? They made it really clear. A lot of these women have come out and said, there's no way I wanted to have sex with Keith. It was just, I had to.
Yeah.
Or my collateral was going to be released. that's sex slavery.
And blackmail. Yeah, and the thing is, Keith seems to not be convinced that the women don't want to be with him. He thinks that they want to be with him, and he's starting to do what he can to kind of like offer them some things. Maybe some monetary gain or increased status within Nxivm and in DOS, and financial opportunities. He makes it so it could theoretically be worth their while, but a lot of the women don't want to sleep, with Keith. And there's one slave who defected out of the program out of Nxivm, who she says that while she slept with Keith, he gave her those things, but when she defected, he told her that she had to pay him back. So
that gift I gave you, it was really a loan.
I'm gonna give you some ability to get $20,000 a month from Nxivm, but oh wait, you're not sleeping with me anymore. I want that money back, all of it.
Yeah, all of it. Like, that wasn't a present. I didn't just give that to you.
You said no take backs.
No takesy backsies, Indian giver. So
Trying not to say that one.
And that finally brings us to one of the worst aspects of DOS. And you go, I kind of thought
it was
sex
bad.
Slavery was pretty freaking bad.
Right?
Right? I agree. No, we're going to get to a part that's going to be the part where it's really physical torture. And I'm just saying that out loud as our final warning. Bye. So look, according to some women on the upper echelons of DOS, so like we said, there's plenty of members who never even got this close to giving this amount of collateral or being with Keith or anything like that. But for the women who were, the final big thing that they really had to do was they needed to get branded like a true slave.
Yeah, that's,
So,
no.
These women together would eventually get branded on the inside of their hip near their pubic region with a cauterizing pen. So, I'm just going to go and tell you it from Sarah Edmondson's point of view. So Sarah said that, she and a number of other slaves had been gathered at a Nxivm member's house, and they were all blindfolded. After they were blindfolded, they were taken to another place, and originally Sarah had been told that they were all just going to get a small tattoo. And, sorority girls do this. Best friends, sisters. Hey, let's go get a tattoo together.
Okay, Bethel.
Let's get something permanent and it'll be cute and we'll just have this lifelong bond. And a lot of women are kind of okay with that.
And then we graduate college and never talk to each other again.
Right? Today, tattoos aren't that bad. They're not that scary. And a large majority of people have them.
Have you seen the needles? That's a lot of needles.
You have a tattoo, Corey.
I know, but there's a lot of needles involved.
Okay. So these women instead find out that they're going to be branded. It's not getting a fucking tattoo. You're going to be burned. And it's just like everything else with DOS. You're already here. It's already happening. You're going to back out now? You're going to be weak? It's just another thing that you get, pulled into. So, again, according to Sarah, Lauren turned to her and said, "You're the highest ranking one here. Show them how it's done." And she got pressured into being the first one that gets branded. So all the women strip down. And in Sarah's case, there's a massage table. And she lays down on it while the other slaves hold her down. And then another slave has to record this. Because never forget, all of it is used against you.
Yeah.
Here's your naked body writhing on the table and saying these words that you've been instructed to say. "Master, please brand me. It would be an honor."
What the fuck?
It came out of their own mouths.
I understand
Nobody
that.
can make you say a word, right? It's all by choice is the whole point. That this is always their loophole. We didn't hold their hand to it. We didn't make those words come out of their mouth. It's funny what brainwashing really makes you do.
Yep.
So she's laying on this massage table. Women are holding her down. And then a Nxivm member who's a doctor named Daniel Roberts comes up with her cauterizing pen. This is how you get a medical fucking tool.
Yep.
And she brands her. And it's a brand of lines. And we're going to put it on for you. But,
on Instagram, not on each other.
Yeah, no, it's pretty ugly.
Just as a note.
But we're going to put it on Instagram. And what it is it's a 2x2 brand inside near your pubic region. of just lines, and it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to do. So there's a couple different things the women were told that it was. And so some women were told that it was, it symbolized the elements of air, earth, and water, and then the pen that sealed it with fire, right?
That's metaphysical.
Yeah, whatever. Some members are told it represents the 7 chakras. So I counted the lines. There's 7. So there's that. Other people say that it stands for the words alpha and mu.
Which, sidebar here, guys, alpha and omega are the 2 big letters that are always paired together. Mu is not really paired with it, alpha at all. So, fun fact.
Yeah, it's just them picking shit again. But what it really comes down to, is it's Keith's and Allison Mack's initials.
I need to look at this thing again, because that's KR and AM, and I'm trying to figure out how those are matching each other.
According to Sarah, the first thing she saw be put on there is the A, which makes sense why some people might believe this says alpha, right? Stands for alpha, there's the A.
Yeah.
But Keith Rainier doesn't have the A, right? So she remembers seeing the A and the M go on first. And that's how she believes it's Allison Max. And then you can see easily how the K is in there. So it's KRAM. They branded them for these people with their initials and just lied to them about what it was about. Eventually, much later on, when this news comes out, Sarah's gonna defect, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But when this news comes out and people confront Keith, there are text messages that we have of him and a former Nxivm member where they come to him and say, "Is this true? I can't believe this is true." And he says, "Yeah, it's my initials. But look, it wasn't me. It was included as a form of tribute to me. I didn't make that decision. Not only that, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to quote him from the text message. He said, "It's not intended initially as my initials, but they rearranged it slightly for tribute. If it were Abraham Lincoln or Bill Gates' initials, no one would care. The primary meaning and design of the brand symbol has nothing to do with my initials." I love the fucking 3-way here. Yes, it's my initials. Oh, if it was somebody else, nobody would care. And yeah, it's my initials, but it wasn't intended that way. Like the 3, fuck you, Keith.
Yeah, come on, Keith.
I mean, and the fact is, Allison Mack gleefully admitted in an interview that the branding was her idea.
I really need to see this interview again, I think, because I don't remember how gleeful it was.
She talks about how, because it's hard and it's more permanent, and how everyone has tattoos that mean nothing, just like you were pointing out. She says that she has 2 tattoos and they don't mean anything to her anymore. This was a better way to give, so she came up with the idea of the branding.
Does she have a brand?
I imagine she does. She's Keith's slave.
I don't know. Yeah, and it seems like, the branding is the step that took this over the edge.
Really? Not the sex slavery?
No, it's the branding, because, sex is sex, I guess. But after discovering that his wife, Sarah, had been branded, husband and fellow high-ranking Nxivm member, Anthony Ames, stormed into the Albany headquarters demanding money he said he was owed. He said that he and his wife were owed, as well as some answers.
They were making she was making $20,000.
She was making $20,000.
He was probably making something similar.
Yeah. So they're, 1, demanding their paychecks, and 2, demanding answers that they should deserve.
I'm sorry, if I'm mad enough, I don't give a flying crap about the money. If I'm that mad at you, I want you to pay. This guy tries to make it seem like he's all upset over his wife, but he's not giving up that money.
Yeah, and he runs in, he's got his cell phone on, and it's hidden in his pocket so he can record his interactions. On the recording, Anthony talks to another member and tells them that Sarah was branded, and the other woman had told him about turning over collateral. And this is the deep, deep collateral, the naked pictures and the damning evidence. He says out loud that it's criminal. Then a woman's voice, who Anthony says is Lauren Salzman, can be heard saying, "I don't think you're open to having a conversation right now." Ink replies, "You're absolutely right. I'm not open to having a conversation. My wife got branded." Which
feels to me like he didn't actually really want to get the evidence. He was acting like he wanted.
Yeah.
He still came in for the money. He's, he knows he's recording, and you have the opportunity to have the woman who fucking branded your wife say, "Yes, it's true, but this is for this, this, and this." Instead, she goes, "I don't think you want to talk about this." And he's like, "You're right. But now he looks self-righteous and, virtue signaling. I tried. Didn't I try? I mean, no, he actually just cut it off. So I kind of want to be like, what was his aim?
I would have kept fighting on that. But, in May of 2017, Sarah Edmondson actually defects in a very public manner. And for the first time, it seemed like many members of Nxivm were hearing of this group. And in the beginning, many argued that it sounded crazy and wasn't possible. There's a sex slave cult in our own goddamn giant cult? No way.
I mean, but think about, this is like someone, again, like, put a different leader into that position. I mean, I guess it's more believable if the Catholics and the Pope maybe came out with this, but I mean, let's make one that's ridiculous. The Dalai Lama. This is like coming out and saying the Dalai Lama is sleeping with all the A-list celebrities.
That'd be weird.
Surprise, and he branded them. And for these people, they really look up to this guy as a philosopher and someone who's trying to change the world for the better. I mean, they're fucking bowing to his picture before a class that they just paid $5,000 for.
You know where they do that? North Korea.
And so when things like this crazy first come out, it's easy to be like, there's no freaking way. I've never seen this. I would know. No. And you don't want to believe it.
Yeah. Many people happen to believe that Keith was celibate, as we said before, but realistically, many people knew about Keith. They suspected when a member had become romantically entangled with Keith, there were some telltale signs. Often there's extreme weight loss, there's, this gray pallor to their appearance.
Yeah, because they're so skinny and
tired and their body is not able to do anything. Along with quick movement of the ranks through Nxivm. Because everyone else has to go through these damn classes and pay the money and offer some more collateral, but the second you start boning the God King, then you get up pretty quick.
Or giving him money.
Right, whichever.
Same, but different.
Yeah.
So, everything starts to fall apart because she comes out with this interview, which is released on October 2017 through the New York Times. And although the first thing that Keith does is the first thing he always does, and they disagree with it. They try and silence anyone that could be, listing out secrets. But a really important factor here is that Keith runs away. He boards a jet with one of the Bronfman sisters, Claire, and they take that jet to Monterrey, Mexico, where there's another Nxivm center.
Yeah.
And, Keith has been down this train track before.
Because he's international now.
When they destroyed his first company for being a pyramid scheme, he faced a lot of issues. He basically went bankrupt. He probably should have gone to jail.
Yeah.
He saw that, and this is your second time, and he knows what he's been up to, so he ran. And when your leader runs, that's when everything falls apart. All of a sudden, all this crazy shit everyone's saying, well, shit, it's starting to look a whole lot more real if you're willing to run away.
Mm-hmm.
So when he finds out that, the FBI are questioning Nxivm members and they're interviewing people, he's in Mexico. He is gone. And as soon as he leaves, so does Allison Mack, so does, Bronfman's already down there, Lawrence Salzman comes down. It's like this whole tribe of his closest, highest-ranking women surround themselves around him.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for you guys, because we're about an hour and a half in, that's where we're going to leave it. I cannot bring myself to just stop there and not tell you guys what's going to happen, because it's all falling into place finally.
So as we kind of made mention of a few times during this episode, this stuff is going on live right now. So if you could just throw in Keith or Nxivm or Allison Mack into Google, you're going to get a whole...
But don't let us tell you about
please.
it. That's going to be the next episode.
The next episode will be once we get a little bit more of this settling on what's going on right now.
Yeah, we're going to tell you what happens, with Keith. I have a FBI report I got ready for you guys.
It's super dry.
No, it's not. And there's even more stuff than what, we think has been going on.
It's actually really super
You think it can't get worse, and then it just gets worse.
It's going to be worse. We're going to have 3 warnings on our next episode.
And the thing is I find this absolutely fascinating. This is a modern-day cult in a first world country that believes cults can't really happen anymore.
Yeah.
And here we are watching people that we've seen on TV and heiresses who could buy islands, and they're in a cult. What makes people do this?
Yeah, so we're going to kind of pull the veil on the rest of this whole operation in the next episode.
Okay. Yeah, and until then, you guys need to hopefully subscribe, follow, rate, leave us a review. I read everything. Send me a letter. I tend to respond to it all, too. We are over at snapfoodpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter.
We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify.
Although lately YouTube's not as nice as I thought it was. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know people are mean on YouTube?
I think I warned you about this. I think I warned you about it. But
some, there's always a karmic balance. And not only did I get pretty nasty, we made someone pretty mad. But we also got a very nice, wonderful person we mentioned before, and she's into cults, and I can't wait to talk to her about her views on cults, too. So until next time, do all that, and stay safe.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.